Hello, and welcome to the Christian Indie Writers Podcast, where we inform, encourage, and support Christian indie writers on their journey to publication. My name is Jamie Hirschberger. I write short fiction under the pen name J.R. Nichols.
And I'm Christina Catane, and I write Christian fiction.
Well, I'd like to welcome everybody. Oh, good morning, Catherine. Everybody watching live. We do have a very active and engaging live chat when we are able to stream with you on Fridays at 10 a.m. Eastern. Good morning from Christy and Sadie in Kentucky. Well, good morning from us to you. Thank you for joining us live. We're so happy to be with you. And if you aren't able to catch us live, we do put the podcast out on all kinds of platforms. So if you have a favorite podcast platform, you can find the Christian Indie Writers Podcast there. We would love to be a part of your writer's journey, and we'd love to hear from you on our Facebook page as well. If you go to our Facebook page, you can find community with the people in the chat, as well as some of the people who are more lurky, but you will find support and encouragement there. And if you just can't get enough of the Christian Indie Writers Podcast, we encourage you to please join our Patreon, where you'll get access to some bonus goodies that are listed on our Patreon page. So how's that for a long intro, Miss Catane? We're going to shift into the What's Up segment. So what's up with you?
Well, I have a show and tell today. I'm really excited about my new shirt that I just got.
Love it.
Because I went to a women's conference not very long ago called Immerse, and the lady that was she talked in front of the big group, and she also did 2 breakouts, which I ended up picking both her breakouts, not really realizing it was her doing them. And she was talking about her Bible journaling journey and how every time in the Old Testament where God would say the word city, she would put her name in there. And she had this long explanation of why she put her name in the place of city in the Old Testament. But so this saying, God is within her, she will not fall, comes from Psalms 46, where it says, there is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy place where the Most High dwells. God is within her, she will not fall. God will help her at break of day. And that's the same psalm that says he is our refuge and our strength. And she was wearing a sweatshirt with just like this, but hers was tan. And I was like, I have to have one of those. So I ordered one, and it just came, and I'm really excited about it.
Hooray!
Because it's just it makes me feel empowered. This idea that God is within me, because he is, he indwells us through his Holy Spirit. And sometimes I think that we I know I sometimes go through life feeling powerless, especially when there's things going on in your life that you are powerless over. He is all powerful and he has control, and it's just just makes me feel better, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely understand the appeal, and I love how the fonts are represented. That shirt's totally a win, and it is good that you feel the reminder by wearing the shirt, but then because it's printed on there, you are projecting the reminder to others. And I think that's pretty groovy. It's interesting that it's Psalm 46:1. Did you say?
No, it's Psalm 46, 4 through 4 and 5.
Okay, because Psalm 46:1, my kids used to listen to these ABC Bible verse songs. And when you said God is my refuge and strength, that was one of them.
That's 46:1. God is our refuge and strength, and ever-present help in trouble. Therefore, we will not fear. Though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam and the mountains quake with their surging. And then it says, there is a river whose streams make glad the city of God.
Yeah, and in the ABC Bible verse songs for my kids, there's a little kid on there and he would say, G is for God. And then they would sing it around. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Psalm 46:1. What is
Nice.
tune? I know that that's not like an original tune. It's some
I
kind
have no idea.
Anyway, anybody who's listening might want to clue us in. Oh, Purpose Behind the Pen. Good morning. She has a what's up to share. She finally got her bed and can store her journals in storage compartments instead of boxes. Oh, isn't that nice? Like, there's something to be said about doing things to just make your home more your own and a place that you live. And really kind of getting settled in by taking stuff out of boxes is a big part of that. So that's a huge win. I'm glad that she shared that. I wonder what's up with Christy, Sadie, and Catherine. If you have anything you want to drop in the chat, we'd love to know what's up with you.
Okay, what's up with you, Jamie?
Well, I also have a show and tell. Now, let me tell you, I have been I'm the kind of person who really hates to go out to eat if I can create something that will satisfy a craving at home. And one of the things on my solve this puzzle list is movie theater popcorn. So I don't want to have one of those big aquarium size movie theater popcorn.
Why not?
It's just somehow don't. Also, those seem to me to be a challenge to keep clean. I work part-time as a waitress, and I know that restaurants stuff gets greasy, and I just don't want to maintain something like that. So I did all of this research. Now, of course, I learned that it's important to pop with coconut oil. I also learned that it's important to buy something called Flavacol, like take the word flavor and chop off the OR and then put ACOL on the end, Flavacol. You can get a big milk carton of it for $10 and it'll last forever because it's super potent. You have to be super careful how much you use. So those two ingredients I had figured out, but actually making the popcorn, like the popcorn would be chewy, the popcorn would be this and that, and it's not difficult to pop popcorn. But I went ahead and bought myself a gadget. I used some rewards points on a credit card that I use and pay off every month. And with my rewards points, look what I got. I got this. Let me see how I can show it to you. This is called a whirly pop. And all it is something that stirs the popcorn for you and also has enough holes in the top to vent it appropriately so the popcorn doesn't get soggy. And all you have to do is put the whole thing with the oil and the popcorn on your stove and turn this little crank. It says turn slowly. I just turn however much I'm going to turn. And it pops. And then my popcorn came out so good. And then because the coconut oil was sufficiently greasy, I didn't feel like it needed butter, but I put a little Flavacol on it, and it's certainly going to satisfy that craving instead of having to figure out how to buy a $20 box of popcorn from a movie theater if I'm not going to see a movie.
Wow. Popcorn keeps getting more and more expensive.
I don't know. You might as well just call it a 20 just because it's,
It's more expensive to buy the snacks at the movie theater than it is to buy the tickets.
I think that's where they make all their money. I don't think they make any money off those movies.
My daughter took a whole group of, she works in a recovery house, and all of the ladies staying in this recovery house have children. So she took a group of 19 people to the movies yesterday. And my husband likes to put leftovers in these little black to-go things that you get from the restaurants. And so we buy them in bulk off of Amazon. We get like 100 at a time because they're not meant to be reused, but he reuses them a lot and they crack and stuff. So we always end up buying more. She came over and grabbed like 10 of them on the way to the movies. And I'm like, what are you doing? She goes, we're buying 2 large popcorns and we're just going to fill these up and like, pass them around. I was like, oh, okay. I hope they'll let you do that.
Yeah. I used to do with my kids. I would have them each bring a paper lunch sack and we would split our popcorn up.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Speaking of the homeschool days, Christy Horine, I'm not sure how you say your name. She says it's part of her homeschool today for us to listen. And so we're so glad we're able to broadcast live. We aren't always, my work schedule is wonky and life sometimes gets in the way, but these are like my favorite Fridays, is spending them with everybody. So hooray.
Yes,
And Christy, she also says my Whirly Pop looks neat. I mean, look, it's kind of expensive for a unitasker, and in true Alton Brown fashion, I say I'm against unitaskers, but now I have two. I have an ice chopper. Oh my gosh, I have another unitasker I just thought about. I'm going to have that for show and tell another day. So I think I'm maybe not anti-unitasker after all. But it is a pretty expensive thing to have just to pop popcorn, but it's part experience. And I think the results are great if you're going to pop with oil. If I'm not popping with oil, I just do the microwave in a brown paper sack.
I have looks like a coffee pot.
Oh,
and it's glass, but it's got red on it, like this red rubber. And it's a microwave popper. You put the popcorn in there and stick it. But I don't eat popcorn anymore, so.
I know, I've seen those. So, does it work good though for when you did?
It does. It does. And it has like a little grate that you can put on as a lid, and you can put butter in there if you wanted the butter to melt while it's in the microwave.
Jen's gonna come back and we're gonna have turned into a product review podcast instead of oh man. So Catherine says fresh hot popcorn is the best, and she also thinks of Alton Brown when she buys a unitasker. So funny.
I don't even know who Alton Brown is.
Oh man, Tina, he cooks and he talks about the science, for example, how to get a flaky. Yes.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Christy wants to know about the porch goose, and poor Kurt has been, I wouldn't say he's been neglected. I mean, he's cozy and warm in my home, and at least he's not outside in the horrible 40-degree weather, which I know my Michigan friends are like, that's not even that cold. But
I have
no
3 inches of snow in my car this morning. I don't even
no snow here. But thanks for asking after Kurt. I should dress him up. It's too late for his pilgrim outfit, but I could put him in his ugly Christmas sweater and put his mistletoe back on his head. I just don't have a new outfit for him. So I guess it's okay for him to wear the same outfit to the holiday party twice, even though I would never. He can be a fashion faux pas. He will not mind. And then I will have that to share instead of a product review for my What's Up next time. Yeah. Maybe a new picture of Kurt. Thanks for asking after him. Okay, so I guess it's time to transition into our topic. And we're talking about, last week we said every story is a love story. And I wonder how everybody felt about that, first of all. And now this week we're saying every story is a journey. And I really think that this case is a lot easier to make. Right. But I will also say that when we were going live this morning and I watched the intro video that Jen put together all those years ago, and even in the intro video, you could see we were podcasting from different locations in our homes. We were wearing different outfits. I had some appearance changes that I noticed in myself as the film was rolling. And it just was like, wow, that depicted a journey that it documented our journey in a way I hadn't thought about before we discussed this topic. And so I think it's just that journeys are kind of the whole, that's it, right? Like there's that phrase, life's a journey and not a destination.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, when I see the intro and I see Rhonda, it makes me smile, and then it makes me miss her, and then I feel a little sad. So I have a whole emotional journey I go on every time I watch it.
I know, us doing our little dance moves. And so emotional journey. Wow, you just really hit on something there I hadn't really thought much about. Okay, but we are talking specifically about how every story is a journey in the context of the Christian Indie Writers podcast. And so why this particular topic, Tina? I know that you've recently had some experience with this idea. So tell us about it.
Well, yeah, I got homework from my book coach, and it was basically character work.
Mm-hmm.
But some of the questions that she was asking was like, okay, what is this character's arc? And how does that character's arc play into, because all of the side characters have to push the main character's story forward.
Okay, one moment. So those are characters from that other episode we did that said that there are certain kinds of characters you have to have in your story.
Right. Like there's different roles that characters play in your story. Like they could be the antagonist, they could be the distraction character, they could be the mentor relationship character. I don't remember the other ones, but each character has an arc of their own in the story, and their arc has to affect in some way the main character's arc. And so I had to sit down, and it took me over 10 pages of writing, because I was writing it out by hand. And I had over 10 pages when I got done of how, and it was only 4 characters. I was doing my main protagonist and then 3 side characters, and how their stories and their arcs intersected with the main character to push her story forward. So either they clashed with her, or they mirrored her, or they I forget the other word, but in some way everybody's story intersects with the main character.
I love that, because that's so much about how real life works. Because even if you don't want somebody else's circus and monkeys to be your circus and monkeys, you sometimes cannot help but feel the effects of their poor choices, or of even their positive choices. And so I believe that would really make your book and characters feel more real to the reader. So I love this advice. I do have a question. So you're doing this work to determine this, and then how much of that ends up in the story? Have you gotten to that place in your book coaching yet to where you know the answer?
Well, I don't think any of what I wrote is actually going to end up in the story, just the ideas that I wrote about.
Okay.
Because it was more like, this is this person's greatest fear, and this is their motivation for their arc, and here's where they start, and here's where they end up, and here's how it affects the main character. Like, it was like that.
Yes, and I think that would be really helpful as you're actually doing the writing, because then you know how, your distraction character, for example, is going to speak to the main character based on what their own motives are and what their own.
And this is a revision, so I have already written multiple scenes with each of these characters, but there was a question about whether one of the characters was even needed in the story. And so that doing that work of how does his character arc and his journey affect my main character answered that question for me.
Was it he got the axe, or did he get to stay?
No, he's still there.
Oh, great.
I just changed how he comes in contact with her and how long he's in contact with her from the original story. Like, so in the original rough draft, they don't even meet each other till the very end. And that didn't work, because I wanted him to go from zero faith, actually worshiping a false god, into faith, like moving it. But how do you, but the Bible says faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. So how is he going to hear the word of God? Like, I had to think about that. Like, you can't just have him, like, out of the blue, like something appears to him and now he believes.
Like Ebenezer Scrooge, don't get me started. But anyway.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, he has to spend time with somebody who has faith and can speak that word of God that he needs to hear in order to have faith.
There you go.
Like thinking about these journeys, if I hadn't thought about his faith journey and how it was going to happen, and I just suddenly had him, I'm going to believe, like, that would have been a huge plot hole. and it wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have been believable. And I needed it to be realistic.
Well,
Even though
that's
it's fantasy, I wanted that part to be, I want the spiritual truths in my story to be realistic.
I understand. Well, what you're saying, really, in not so many words or whatever, is the reader experience is greatly affected by how well you know your characters and how well you are able to create a believable narration, even if it's fantasy. You know,
Right.
it needs to be that you can swallow it, that you can believe that what happens is happening.
And
And
a lot of
giving,
time it's connecting with the stories of the characters that mirror your own stories that helps you feel connected to that character.
Nice. Okay. So now we've talked about this in a very intellectual, here is what you do way. But we also thought that it might be fun and also useful to provide an example for our listening audience. And so we thought we might do a little bit of an exercise. And I guess it's a little mocktail of mixing in this premise with some shenanigans. And we thought that we might fabricate together a Hallmark Christmas movie in which we've given each of these movie characters a journey and then how those journeys affect our main character. And we picked Hallmark Christmas movie just because we thought it was like approachable. Everybody would know exactly what we're talking about. And Tina kept sending me these reels that were like research, she would say. It's so hilarious to see people sort of spoofing these Hallmark Christmas movies. They have a special place in our heart. They are near and dear to us. This is very much all in fun. And we are very much advocates of like wholesome entertainment that makes you happy. Go for it. But we're just going to have a little bit of fun right now. Right, Tina?
Right. And we want this to be interactive. So if anyone in the chat wants to interject and say, oh, we should do this, please.
Yes,
it would be
please.
so much more fun if there are more brains involved in this.
Yes. And what reminder now, the exercise is to have a main character and then several side characters with their own journey that affects the main character. And Tina, you were advocating for a male main character to put a twist on the traditional Hallmark movie, right?
Yeah, I thought that would be fun.
I agree. So does anybody have any name ideas for our Hallmark main character? And I'll jot it down in my notes so that we'll remember.
I think it should be something like cozy and, like, oh, what am I trying to say? Nick.
And what if we named him something like, not gingerbread, but, something Nick Pinecone, Nick Sandalwood, or something that has, because what I was originally thinking was like Jack Frost. I'm like, no, that's not like the leading guy. That's like the boyfriend back home would be Jack Frost, right?
How about Nicholas Kringle?
Oh my goodness. I love it. All right. So Nicholas Kringle, so his journey is obviously that he's going to fall in love with someone, right? Like we know that this is like going to be his journey, right?
Right.
So he's going to get.
I also think like he thinks that his purpose in the beginning of the movie is one thing, and then he learns that it's something completely different by the end.
Okay, change of purpose. Happily ever after I have for Nicholas Kringle. Okay, and then of course we have to have the girl that he falls in love with, right? And what is her name and her journey? So like Jenna just popped into my head. How do you feel about Jenna?
Oh, Catherine made a point. He has to hate Christmas.
Okay, great.
Yeah, he has to hate Christmas. And I think that he's going to find out he's the next Santa Claus.
He hates Christmas, but he has to become Santa.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel, was this movie already made?
I'm sorry. I would not know. But we are advocates of you write the story your way and it'll be unique.
Right.
All right. So what do we think
of
Holly?
Catherine is suggesting Holly or Noelle.
Holly Noel, or how about Holly Noel is her name? And maybe that's like her first and middle, but that's what she goes by.
And Christy
All right,
said
now
he hates Christmas because everyone makes fun of his name.
I love it. Okay, because everyone makes fun of his name. Now, Holly Noel.
And he's going to hate her when he meets her because that is like the most Christmassy name. Like, he's going to be like, I could never even be friends with somebody whose name is Holly Noel.
Oh my goodness, wonderful. But now what's her deal? So she's now wait. So the exercise is this. She has to be on a journey herself, and
Right.
that journey has to impact Nicholas Kringle's journey.
Okay, here's just what popped into my head.
All right.
I'm not married to it. You can change it however you want. She grew up in a house where they didn't celebrate Christmas.
Okay.
And she absolutely loves Christmas. He hates Christmas. Christmas was everything in his family. They like practically celebrated it all year round. So he hates Christmas so much that he decides to go to get a petition started to just stop all the Christmas celebrations at Christmas time in their little town. And he goes and then so now there's a court fight, and like she's a lawyer, and he's the plaintiff. Would that be the right terminology?
Yes.
So she is like against him in court, and they're going to court to try to. And I don't know how that would work. Would they go to the city council and have like city council meetings, and the city council would vote?
No, they would go to the gingerbread house, decorated court. No, I'm just kidding. But like, it works in our movie. We'll figure it out. We'll leave that up to the people who are in charge of the plot. So her journey is basically, she starts out, where does she go though? If she starts out as the attorney who's battling against,
let's say she was a New York City attorney at a huge law firm, and she just got so disillusioned with life, she moved to this little Christmassy town.
Okay, and where she could fill out her Christmas dreams, right?
Right, and fell in love with Christmas, and now it's changed her life. And now he wants to take it all away.
Okay. So this is interesting because when we were talking about this exercise, I was thinking that it would affect his life, but like his life is affecting hers. Like, do you know what I mean? So can it be like a reciprocal way? But it's affecting him. Yes.
I feel like her love for Christmas and in the course of her arguments, it's going to start to convince him.
Something. I love it. Yeah. And okay.
And he's going to have feelings for her, and he's going to be like fighting them. But then she has, and she's a really good lawyer. Like she was one of the top lawyers. So she's really good at arguments.
Which is appealing.
Right.
Okay. And so now
she's her points are going to start to sway him.
I love it. Now, that's our main character, and then the other main character, I guess, because I don't know if you're writing a romance kind of a thing. I think they're both kind of, and then we're going to have minimally.
She would be the love interest.
Got it.
It's enemies to lovers for sure.
Now, you said that a minimum, you would have an antagonist, a distraction, and a mentor. So those are the three that we need to come up with. An antagonist, what would you say would be that kind of a role? Like maybe another girl who thinks that she has a right to be with Nicholas Kringle or something?
There needs to be somebody who keeps encouraging him to hate Christmas, but has ulterior motives because he really wants to be Santa Claus.
Oh, I forgot about the Santa Claus plotline already.
Right, but not because he loves children and he wants to give presents to children, but because he wants access to the magic.
Ooh. Okay, so it's like
he
a
has.
power.
So it's kind of like in the Jack Frost movie. You know, Jack Frost was kind of a bad guy, and he wanted
Mm.
to take over from Santa Claus.
Mm. Catherine Carroll, this ideal is sparking memories all over town. So she's very much on board for a courtroom battle. I like her plot line could work too. What if he loves the town because they don't make a big deal about Christmas, but she's bringing Christmassy things to town? That's another perfect example. Like, you got it right on the head. The point is, her journey is affecting his. That could also work. And now she's saying they could view each other as the antagonist. Tina, would that work, or do we need to have that other character? Yeah,
I think it would.
yeah.
The guy who is trying to get him to continue his belief that Christmas is bad could be the distraction character.
Oh, there you go. Okay. And so this idea that he's destined to become another Santa Claus, he does not know this as the movie is going on.
Yeah, he's got to learn it at some point. And I feel like Santa Claus keeps coming into town, but not as Santa Claus. Like,
ooh, as an observer.
Like maybe he's at this place where the guy goes for coffee every morning and like sits at the next table and starts talking to him and ends up being like a mentor.
Nice. That's the mentor character.
Right.
Perfect, because we needed one. I like Christy's idea too. She says there really is a Bethlehem, Kentucky. That would be an interesting twist. No Christmas in Bethlehem, but she moves in, and of course there needs to be Christmas in Bethlehem. I love that. You guys have this. You guys need to be like hired by the Hallmark.
She could want to put like a manger scene on the courthouse lawn.
I love
like
this.
Right, you know how in those movies there's like they have these towns and then there's like always like a center plaza or a gazebo or a town center where everyone kind of gathers like at the end and sings Christmas carols. Like maybe she wants to put a manger scene there.
Well, all of this is excellent, and maybe I've inspired some of you all to write some kind of a Christmas short story that you could use as a lead magnet or something. And I encourage you to keep brainstorming. We're going to have to move on to a different segment. We could pick up the conversation in the Facebook group if you all would like to. But at the end of the day, if you want to make this actionable for your current work in progress, I'm going to kind of try to recap. And Tina, you tell me where I've got it wrong. So you're going to, first of all, take all of the characters in your book, like even the teeny weeny ones, Tina, or just like the big main ones?
I just did the main ones.
And you're going to, Tina hand wrote, but you could type out the journey for each of those characters. Just like we just ran through quickly our potential Nicholas Kringle, was it? Nicholas? Yeah. And you have to write down their journey and how it's going to impact your protagonist. And hopefully that will help your characters come to life. It will help you determine, as Tina determined, whether or not a character even belongs in the book and has a strong enough reason to be there, or if you need to even increase their presence. Anything you would add to that, Tina?
No, I think you got it. I would like to say that Christy said, so somehow he thinks he can make her happy in a superficial way, so he agrees to be Santa, but she wants more than just Santa. She wants Jesus.
Aw, I love that.
And then Catherine said if she wants Jesus, it just became a GAC Pureflix movie.
We're brilliant. I'm saying we're a gold mine.
We need to write this as a group and like publish it for next year.
Oh my goodness, that could be so fun. I had that little Christmas. My brain is all squirreled now. Okay, so we now have to move on to the feeding of the backs because I do have a hard stop at 11, sadly. He wants to shut her up. She thinks in terms of the soul, Christy says.
Good one.
Perfect. All right. So next we're going to read for our audience 2 little pieces of fiction that we wrote before the show started. We set a timer for 15 minutes. We wrote to a prompt, and now we're going to share those pieces with you live, unedited. We wrote them, and now we're sharing them. And just to encourage you to take up the habit of doing writing sprints. The writing sprints are a way to keep your brain glowing. If you have listened to us for any amount of time, you've probably heard us talking about that. It's a way to flex your writerly muscle and to possibly solve some tricky plot problems, depending on how
say that 10 times fast.
Right? Maybe I could even change to like perilous plot problems or something. Anyway, Tina, why don't you share with our audience what the prompt was and what you wrote?
Okay, so we did 5 words because it's the first Friday of the month, and the words were steam, bean, headquarters, spend, and spot. And this story is nothing like the one we just were trying to make up.
All right.
I feel like this is like I'm just jumped out of one dimension into another.
Yes. Now, did you write in any particular of your worlds that are your works in progress?
No, I did not. I just took the word steam and I ran with it.
All right. I'd love to hear where you ran. Go for it.
Okay. The steam rising from the vents in the sidewalk caused shivers up Miranda's spine. Every scary movie she'd ever seen ran through her mind. All the crime dramas she'd consumed in her lifetime made her heart feel as if it were melting inside her. It was dark, and the city that never sleeps seemed to be in a coma, on this block at least. The one working streetlight flickered as if fighting to stay alive, and the boarded-up storefronts covered in graffiti seemed to mock her as she walked, the sound of her heels echoing off the brick of the buildings that rose like rotten teeth into the star-filled sky. From somewhere ahead, a cat screeched, and what Miranda imagined to be a metal trash can lid clattered on pavement. She stopped. Her heel click echoed back to her. Was it her heel click, though, or was somebody following her? It was always the ones who looked back who met their demise. Hollywood had taught her that much. She pulled her too thin coat around her, retying the belt as she walked, the wind biting at her nylon legs. She could kick herself for wearing this dress tonight. Why hadn't her father's voice in the back of her mind not scolded her off? That dress is entirely too short, young lady, and no daughter of mine is leaving this house dressed that way. She did her best to walk faster, but she wasn't used to wearing heels, and her ankle bent outward in a way she wasn't sure was natural. The pain barely registered as panic overtook her. She could see all the scenes she'd ever seen of scantily clad girls running shoeless down the street from a predator. She was no dumb blonde, though, which seemed to be the stereotype in the movies. She was a dumb brunette, dumb enough to convince herself there was no harm in meeting a guy she only knew from text through a dating app. That New York City was too full of people, witnesses, for her to be in any real danger. Stupid, stupid, stupid. Behind her, she heard the distinct sound of tires in the rock salt puddles in the street and the hum of an engine. The sound moved ever closer behind her, and she gave in to her panic, kicked her shoes off, not caring where they landed, and began to run. The icy snow stung her feet, and the frigid air stole her breath. She was going to die. Then she heard the chirp of a police siren. She turned to look behind her, losing her footing and landing with a smack on the snow-spattered pavement. She closed her eyes, giving in to whatever fate may await her. "Are you okay, ma'am?" a female voice said. Then a pretty blonde with her hair in a bun and sporting the very unflattering blue uniform of the NYPD bent down and reached out to help her up.
Hooray! I feel like this is Holly Noel to the rescue. In her days before she was an attorney, she was on the beat. And she had this interaction with this girl. And this girl now lives in whatever Christmas town there is and is the bestie. But I have to say about your writing in particular, the buildings like broken teeth, the nylon legs, again, descriptions are just the kind that I like when I am reading a book. You do it just the right amount, like adding the MSG. You don't want to put too much in there or get super salty, but you need some to enhance the flavor. And your descriptions are just primo.
Thank you.
Christy,
Yeah, I really like to think about like how it feels to walk down that street. And then try to portray that on the page.
Oh my goodness, yes. And her recalling all of the stuff that she's ever watched. I was laughing at that part because you kind of feel like you feel like in trouble with yourself, and you feel like I should not have watched those. And you, like everybody, I think, has felt that feeling, and you did a great job of portraying it in just a handful of words. Christy Hareen says, wow, about your story. And I would agree. I think that was really great. And now I have to read mine.
Yours are always great. So.
Oh my goodness, no. This time it goes nowhere. It's a little nothing, but this is a sprint. We sprint, right? And for me, it's the only writing that I do all week, sadly, unless it has something to do with corporate finance, which is not anything anybody would stay awake trying to read. Let me assure you. Okay, so let's see here. Where is my story? Here it is. Okay. I got a lot of the words this time. And maybe that's the trouble, is when I think about trying to get the words, I don't do as well. Here we go. Zara cracked the dishwasher and allowed the steam to hit her face. She let her mind take her back to that hot and sultry day in July of 72. She smiled. How young they had been, how full of life. How many hours did they spend hiding from her ma and his CO in their special spot, back before it had become everybody's favorite place to hang out and sneak a smoke, laughing and sharing a can of Coke and a box of Boston baked beans. She remembered he'd had a pea shooter with him once, and she could almost hear the faint smack the tiny candies made as they hit ad hoc targets drawn in chalk on the tall wood perimeter fence. Czar, what you doing? Her husband's voice snapped her from her reverie with the efficacy of a bucket of ice dumped onto a flaming book of matches. Zara's startled hand shut the dishwasher door, then remembered itself and reopened it, this time all the way. The door's spring gave it a yawn, and Zara smiled. Just telling the girl good morning. She patted the counter immediately above the machine and to work removing cups and saucers from the top rack. That's weird. Her scowling husband watched her pass a towel over the still damp crockery and stack it neatly in the cupboards. She ignored the comment, wondering what she could offer him to get him to leave his post. She offered him a cup of coffee. He refused with a sullen shake of his head. So you're just gonna stand there and watch me make your lunch? She chirped the words and accompanied them with a happy giggle. Silly boy, it's getting late. You'll want to be getting into the shower. It's only 7:30, he protested, nevertheless scratching his wide belly and turning for the bathroom. And then the timer ran out.
Wow. I just love the way that you do characters, because they have they always have these moments where they're like off, like when she's opening the dishwasher and the steam and she's remembering like the hot sultry day, and it really gets you inside the character, and it really so now I know that she's just not very happy with the way things are going in real life.
Yeah.
And so this story where she's annoyed that her husband's standing there becomes something much deeper, and then you're wondering, okay, what did he do? You know, like that's where my mind goes, what happened between that sultry summer day in 72 and now that has her so wishing it was way back then? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like that character where you did that in 15 minutes with just a few words, and it's really just great character work.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And what's interesting is it's my opinion that if I continue to write, you would eventually learn that this is not the same man.
Oh,
That
okay.
she is somehow not with the one who had the pea shooter, right?
Uh-huh.
But
The one that got away kind of
yes,
situation.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. When she was young and the spring was high or whatever.
Yeah. And now you're middle-aged and life just seems to be one boring slog, and you're thinking back to your youth when you were in love and life seemed like so full of possibilities, which if you ended up with that guy, you probably end up in the middle-aged slog anyway.
Yes, because my friend and I, we talk a lot about how it's the wanting that is actually enjoyable. When you actually achieve or attain the thing that you've been striving after, the thing that you want, that does not feel as good as the longing to have it. Isn't that something?
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird.
So I was feeling maybe a little pensive when I wrote this. I don't know, but I do also like to write whatever the antithesis of domestic bliss is. I just really, write what you know, right? So anyway, I don't know. Oh, so now we have to do what's next. What is coming up for you, Tina? It's supposed to be about writing or not. I don't know. What do you got going on?
Well, today at 2:00 in the afternoon Easter time, I have my meeting with my book coach to talk
Oh, is
about
your homework done?
Yeah, these 10 plus pages that I hand wrote. And then I was like, oh no, do I have to type it all out now? Because last
How are you
time
gonna share it?
I did it in Google Docs last time.
Yeah.
And she made all these comments on it. And so I texted her and I was like, can I just put PDFs of my handwritten pages in there? And she said, sure. So,
oh, how
so I just
and
took,
wonderful.
There's this really cool thing when you open up Google Drive on your phone and you push the plus sign, it says document scan. And you just click the button, and if you hold it above the page, when it gets to where it needs to be, it scans the document into the Google Drive for you.
That's perfect.
So I just kept moving it, and it would do it. And then I turned the page, and I just kept moving it, did the whole thing in one document. Put it in one file. Right. That was really cool.
Tell me about this book coach. Is she somebody that you found who's open to taking clients? Is this just a one-off that she's doing?
I went through Author Accelerator. And so when you go into their website to look for a book coach, it's almost like a dating service. Because they have profiles, and you look at their profiles, and it has all this information about them, their experience, what kind of genres they're experienced in. They have things like, I won't do this, or I will do this.
Sure.
And so I could tell by what my book coach, the type of writing my book coach said she wouldn't coach, that she probably was a woman of faith.
Gotcha.
But since I write Christian fiction, I was like, that looks promising. So I sent her a message, and it turns out she is a missionary in South Africa. And
that's awesome.
Yeah. And she was telling me the story about the guy around the corner who was demon possessed, and her experiences with running into him on the street.
Wow.
I was like, there's a demon possessed guy in my story. So I feel like, and it's so cool to sit down and talk to a book coach who knows who's coaching me in my writing, but also has all of this scriptural knowledge and knowledge of the faith, because my main goal is I want to glorify God in what I write.
Sure.
And I want to teach, because I'm a Bible study teacher. So there's this thing inside of me that wants to teach the truth of his word through my stories. Even though I'm not going to get preachy and put all, sometimes you read books and it's all scripture. I don't want to do that. I want to teach it through lived experiences of people on a faith journey. And so she has both of those ingredients that I need. And it's just turned out to be a perfect match.
That does sound like a perfect match. And I think that you bring up a really good point that if someone is looking for a book coach, it might be worthwhile to be sure that those types of things are going to align, especially if you need that kind of advice and you, like, for example, need somebody with particular subject matter expertise that could help you winnow down the very wide field of
like they
those
even in their profiles, they say whether they're like, this person's a soft touch or this person is like really, like, if you need somebody who's going to be more like cracking the whip, or if you need somebody who's going to be much softer, like there's a variety of categories that they could fall into on that continuum, and they'll tell you where they fall. So I thought that was pretty cool.
That's great.
Because you know me, I don't like to be told what to do.
Right.
But I really like homework. Like I really love learning and homework. So
yes,
she even started a Google Classroom for us to put our homework in, and then for me to turn in my homework.
Well, she sounds wonderful. So if anybody would like a recommendation, they could reach out to Tina, and I'm sure Tina would be happy to help you to connect, right?
Yeah, sure.
And then, okay, so I have a what's next that is interesting. So I actually have been looking at my writing lately. Can you believe it? So I feel like I've crossed some sort of bridge. And I've been thinking, I've got a goal of a year from August to have done something. The goal is very vague because I don't like to make promises to myself that I can't keep. But it would be super great if I could do like this great big vision that I have. But I don't know how practical or how the reality of that is. So I guess I maybe by August could really solidify my goal, because it would take all of that time to see how quickly I do things. But my very first nano novel project is not a throwaway. I know I've heard that said that it's never any good, your first one, but I really like what I did. And I really think that it can be, I don't want to use the word salvaged, but published eventually. And I actually feel like the work to do that does not feel super overwhelming to me, because my friends have been trying to encourage me to, because what happens is I look at the pile of work in front of me. And when other people say, oh, start a new project, I'm like, I don't want to add to the pile. There are so many projects that I have that I want to edit and finish and publish. And so to start a new one and just add that to the mix just overwhelms me. But this project feels fresh because I wrote it so long ago. And I almost feel like somebody is considering hiring me to edit their book, because I'm so distanced from it. It's maybe like 20 years old, but it has good enough bones that I want to keep it. And so I'm feeling a little bit encouraged that I may actually get back into doing this work that needs to happen if my characters are ever going to be out there into the world. And I feel like they deserve that. And so I'm encouraged. And I would just ask that you all continue to pray for me, that I keep feeling these encouraging ways, because the is it even worth it? Does it even matter? Spirit tends to want to cling to me. But at the same time, my personal life is so becoming, like you say, mundane. Like there's no more panic or crisis happening. And as that goes on, you start to look for ways that you could enhance your life. And perhaps getting books published would enhance my life, instead of feeling like some kind of I really should be doing that. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm encouraged, and I hope that that encourages everybody else on my behalf.
And I think also too, like you're really good at it. And
thank you.
And when we're doing something that we're good at and it makes us feel good, like even if you never publish anything, just the process of doing something that you're good at is going to enhance your life.
Well, I appreciate that. That's very encouraging. Thank you. Oh, that's so sweet. All right. Well, we have a few minutes, but I think that we could just wrap up. Do we have more to say on the topic of every story is a journey? Okay. Well, I guess in that case, this concludes the Christian Indie Writers Podcast. Until next time, may your pen be prolific, may your deadlines be met, and may all of your words honor Christ. Bye now.
Bye, everyone. Oh, I have to end it, don't I?